Hi everyone. I want to talk about a technique that I discovered yesterday myself in how to deal with emotional reactions. It's an interesting technique because it also helps one to understand the various functionalities that are operating inside oneself. We don't really pay much attention, actually. We just hammer through life, having emotions, thinking, and all that without really understanding the various functionalities that are there. I pointed out before, thinking is a function, and you can use a function when you need to. So, yesterday, I can't remember what the emotional reaction was. It wasn't a major one, it was a minor one, but nevertheless, because of the person that I am, always trying to understand what's going on with me. And the emotional reaction came up, let's say it was irritation. The thing to do is to be careful of the names, because once you call it irritation or anger or anxiety, you right up into the head, into your thinking mind. And now the thinking mind plays games with it and tries to understand it, and where's it coming from and why is it there and what is the background of it. Yeah, don't do all that, because then you get into thinking mind. Thinking is a functionality, but you can get lost in thinking, as I keep pointing out, because thinking has memory in the back, and then it starts to bring in memory, and before you know it, you've got a mountain made out of a molehill. So just recognize that there is an emotional reaction going on. Don't worry about the name. Now, go deeper than that and have a look, where is that emotion arising from? And nearly always you can think of it arising, is it in my head, is it in my throat, is it in my heart, is it in my abdomen, is it in my sex area? Where is that reaction coming from? So try and identify where that reaction is coming from. Get as close as you can to that space in the body that's there. And now give it a name. Remember, we're not talking about the emotional name. What is the feeling name? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel pressure? Does it feel itchy? Does it feel fiery? Try to give a name to that feeling in the body. Once you've identified the feeling in the body, now remember, you're moving away from the emotional name and the thinking mind. We don't want to go there. We're just taking that emotion, finding the feeling in the body, and being with that feeling that's now in the body. Now, what I did yesterday, because I've done this process many times, what I did yesterday was not just stay with the feeling, but actually try to go behind the feeling. Where's that feeling arising from? And when I did that, I realized that that feeling was arising from a space, a hole. It felt like a hole. That's what it felt like, just an empty hole. That out of that emptiness that had arisen, I had a feeling and then an emotion. And I had got caught up in the emotion and trying to understand it. Now I traced myself backwards to the feeling in the body, and then tried to get deeper than the feeling and found it was just an empty space. And then out of this empty space, and that empty space, I can't say felt comfortable. It wasn't a comfortable empty space, but it was an empty space that I'd given, that had created a feeling, and that I had named, now given it a name, heavy feeling, and then the emotion rose out of it, and then the thinking mind came. So trace all these processes back: thinking, feeling, and then deeper than the feeling, and discover this. Well, when you go deeper than the feeling, you just discover this empty space there. And as I stayed with that empty space, it felt like this emptiness, a hole there, not comfortable. I can realize how some people can get totally lost in that empty space, actually. But what happened was that suddenly the empty space started to expand. And I thought, okay, let me watch this. And as I watched this empty space expand, it started to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, until it had emptied out everything in my body. It was like all my baggage, whatever I was carrying, my thoughts and feelings and emotions, all that suddenly disappeared. And this empty space was now totally full of me. It was empty full. Yeah, that's what it felt like, an empty fullness. And I stayed with that empty fullness for quite a while, just wondering, wow, I am nothing. I'm a nobody. There's nothing there. I'm totally empty. And then suddenly this sense of beautiful, quiet love. I can only call it that. I'm not sure what else to call it. It wasn't an emotion. It was a quiet presence, a very quiet, loving presence. It suddenly filled up the space and filled up this whole beingness that I was. And I thought, wow, look at that. It's almost as if my thinking and my emotions and my reactions were filling up this empty space and hiding the love that was there. That was my experience. And it was very beautiful. And ever since then, until even yesterday, I got to do some practicing now. What is it like to live with this full emptiness? It's full empty, full of potential maybe, but certainly a full emptiness. And to operate from that space, not from the thinking mind space. That's one space. You can operate from there. Thinking can stir up emotions, can use imagination, and you can create this whole reality. You can stay with your feeling self, and that's a good place to be. But in the end, your feeling actually starts to dominate everything, and you need your feeling self because you need to operate in the world. But there is even a greater depth to it. And when you get to that greater depth, you discover this emptiness. Emptiness that has totally encompassed everything that you are basically empty and full at the same time. And that in science is called the quantum potential. Isn't that amazing? The quantum potential, which is nothing and everything at the same time. And that's where we really are. When we can be in that space of nothing, empty fullness, when we can be there, then we can allow this great mystery that we are to express itself fully without constantly being covered up by emotions and thinking and all that stuff which tends to dominate who we are. We become this thinking emotional being. And behind it is this empty full being, full of potential, full of loving potential. Try it out and see if it can work for you. Have a good day.